Okay, how are we looking? Everything is on and we are live. Hi, how is everyone doing? Thank you for being here again. This is the last session. Now it is for sure the last session for this package. Objectives of today. I forgot to implement one last feature that flew under the radar. It's nothing too big, to be honest. It's just that I have the option to increase or decrease the delay or the speed of the transition between one slide and the other. So that's on the template, but it's not on the package. So I'm going to take a minute to implement that. Set a new release or launch a new release for the blade component. And then we are going to discuss what happened last time, because that was painful to I'm guessing it was painful to watch, but also it was painful for me to, having spent 8 weeks building something, to have it not work at all when deploying it in initial release. And we're going to talk and discuss about what went wrong. And also, what did we learn, or at least what I learned from this, from the road to release and launching something, and the importance of not working in isolation or having a happy place where your things work all the time. You have to stress test things and make sure that they work before you push to production. Something that even after all of these years, you still make mistakes, or I do at least. So yeah, let's start with that small feature, and then we'll discuss the what were the changes that I made to fix everything. I have the carousel demo here. I think I'm gonna work with this one for now, just so I can see what I'm doing. I can see hearts flowing in the chat already. Thank you so much. So if I go to resources, views, let me make this bigger, by the way. Sorry. Components, where was it? This has got to be the index. See, I have this duration here, and as a prop or as an option, but I never set up any props for it, which I should do. I should go and read about, because this is 20. Is that 20 milliseconds or what is it? I don't remember. So I'm gonna go read about it in the Embla Carousel documentation. If I can remember, where was it? Yes, it's in the API. Options, duration. Set scroll duration when triggered by any of the API methods. Higher numbers enable slower scrolling. Okay. Duration is not in milliseconds because Embla uses an attraction physics simulation. Fancy! When scrolling instead of easing. Only values between 20 and 60 are recommended. So we should make this still gonna be a number in the blade template, but we're gonna clamp that between 20 and 60, I guess. And the default is 20. All right. Let's add the option here. Let's add it as a prop. Where do we clamp this. Well, we could do a min between 20 and whatever value you provide. Well, but I still have to do the max. Is there a clamp function in PHP? Min, max, yeah, there is apparently. Oh, it's a proposal? Is it available? So it's supposed to be clamp, the number, the minimum, and the maximum, and return the number. Is that available in PHP 8.2 already? I should check. I have what was the name? Tinkerwell. No, there's not a function for it. I guess I should just do an if. Easy. There's nothing too much about it. Maybe I can do something like min. This would give me the duration not less than 20. What if I do a max in here? Let's say that duration is, I don't know, 30. Well, this is not going to work because this is going to give me 60. Or maybe if I just do another min between 60 and duration. Let's say duration is equal to 30, something like that. What would that do? Syntax error. Of course. Well, that's gonna be, yeah. So I guess I have to do duration here too. Use ternary operation? Yeah, I'm guessing. I'm trying to be fancy, and I shouldn't do that. So duration greater than or less than 20. What am I doing here? It's less than 20, then just 20, otherwise duration. I guess I can do the same here. If it's greater than 60. Okay. What if I pass 90, it should give me 60. If I pass 10, it should be 20. Yeah, simple enough. No need to be fancy. Except I don't need this line here. So the higher the number, the slower the transition. Hi, Willie. Okay, I'm passing it in options, which should be fine. Save this. Oh, let's, before I do that, make sure I'm in the right branch. Switch to Carousel. Can we make this bigger? Yes. Let's create a new branch for this. Clamp value max 20, min 60. Oh, that looks nice. Let me try that. Tried doing that, but it didn't work on my side. I guess I was doing min. I was doing min and max. Or min twice? I don't know. Let me try that. Let's say that duration equals max. Ooh, max 20. And then min 60 and duration again. If I pass 10, it's gonna give me 20. And it does. How about 90, 60, and 30? Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, my logic was completely backwards. Thank you so much. There should be a function. There should be just a clamp function. I mean, it is proposed, but yeah, there should be one. This is way too verbose. Is that a thing? Number clamp? Ooh, I'm gonna try it. Actually, let's read about it. Why don't we open the documentation? There is. Ha! They thought about it. They thought about everything. That's perfect. That's perfect. That's what I need. Between 10 and 100, that'll give you 100. It's perfect. Is that... Wait, what's the namespace? I have to use illuminate support number since I am in a template. So it's the number. I lost my coding. That is the number, which is duration, and then the minimum 20, the maximum 60. Was it 60? Awesome. This is what I want. Come on, there you go. And the duration between 20 and 60 with a clamp function, which makes sense. Pass it in the options that goes into the init function. Yeah, I don't know why YouTube is so finicky about links. Basically, you post any link on the chat, doesn't go through. Maybe I can post it. Hold on. Copy link address. I guess I should do it here. Can I open a new window here? No, that's too much. Did it go through? Yeah, it did. Only I can post links. I have the power. Guess I don't need this anymore. How was everyone week, by the way? Already half the week. So fast. Time goes so fast. How's everyone doing? Are you doing okay? I hope you are. Right, this, let's save. Oh, I forgot the branch. So duration option. Now I can save. Here it is. Duration, clamp, 20. All right, let's try this. No, artisan. There. Ooh, made a mistake. Forgot a comma? No. I forgot a comma. Where is it? Where are you? There you go. Okay. That's 20. Let's change that in where was it? Resources, views. This is the Infolist package, but it's using the blade component anyway. So demo, was it? Demo? Am I using demo right now? Let me check. Web.php, no, Infolist demo. Livewire, Infolist demo. No. Components. Where is the thing? I haven't been here for a while and I forget everything. Resources, views, components, Infolist Carousel, not that. Oh, I guess it makes no sense to do it here because I'm using the Livewire. Maybe I can use the other project that I created. Maybe I should do both right away. I was literally looking for this filament dependency 2 weeks ago. Had to settle for HTML string. Thank you for doing this. No problem, man. Thank you for joining me. I'm glad that I can help in any way possible. Guess I should do the option here right away. I mean, so I can test it to do a couple of releases in one. Or I can change the route real quick just to give it a try. Resources, where's the route? Web? Here. Maybe I just quickly comment this out. Uncomment this. This will go to the demo. But blade.php, which already has a carousel here. Let's add the duration option. And let's pass, I don't know, 30. Whoa, what? Oh, Jesus Christ. I basically said in Vim motions, write 30 times. Not what I wanted. All right, let's save this. And also let's save the route. Okay. Right, that's not working. Yeah, it's not working because I removed the JavaScript. Dang it. Okay, let's do both. Let's do the Infolist change as well, so I can test both at the same time. All right, back to where we were. And I guess here I want a function called duration. I don't know if I should make straight up input number or maybe have an enum or slow, medium, fast. Let's go with a number. Now I need to open first. Let's move that to a branch as well. Carousel demo. No, not that one. Infolist carousel here. Let's move over to branch main. Make sure I got the latest version. Then create a new branch. Let's call it same way. Same thing. Add duration option. All right. Head over to packages, Infolist, Carousel, resources. Actually, Infolist, Carousel. Loop orientation, autoplay. Let's make one more property here. Put it right below, right above autoplay. Here. Public function. Duration, which takes an int or a closure. Should give it a different name. What did I call it? I close the window. That's fantastic. Scroll duration, let's call it that way. Scroll duration equals 20. All right. Now I can say scroll duration equals duration, and then turn this. And then I need a get function down here. Oh, my back is killing me. Ugh. Such a long day of work. Okay, so we have get duration. Now I need to use this in the template for this component. Now we can go to resources, views, Infolist, carousel.blade.php, and right over here is add duration equals get duration. Should be enough. Okay. Save this again. Check changes here. That's the only thing that I did. No, that's not correct. Haven't saved. Why haven't you changed this? Oh, there it is. Huh? Okay, so there's that function, there's this function. Everything looks good. Square duration 20. All right. I guess I can try it out now. Is there any errors? No errors. Cool. Yeah, it's definitely slower. Let's increase that number just to see a more prominent change. Let's go over to 50. All right, that looks good. Okay, let's do a couple of releases for this new change. Starting with the actual carousel here. That's a scroll duration option. All right, publish that branch. And let's create a pull request. Triple checking, everything looks good. Yeah, I don't care about this. Just merge. All right, cool. Let's go and tag this release. Draft a new release. This would be version 103. Give it the same title. Everything is good. Let's go. Publish. Awesome. Now let's release the other one, Infolist Carousel. We have two changes, one in the view, one in the component. Commit, publish, pull request. Create pull request. I'm gonna copy this. I don't want to type it again. Triple checking. And just merge. New release will be 102. Copy that here. And publish. All right. That was easy, wasn't it? I love it when everything works as it should. Now that we have that feature in, why don't we take a minute to see those changes reflected on the example projects that I created last week and that none of them worked. So I'm going to close this. I don't need it anymore. And let's also close this one. I don't know what this is about. And I believe the first one was Carousel in herd. So Carousel test. This was the project I created to test just the blade component. So real quick, I'm going to run v, but I'm going to build. So I don't need page refreshing. But before I do that, I am going to update my packages. If I do composer update, there should be an upgrade from my package. And there it is, upgrading to version 103. Now I'm gonna build. All right, let's see that in the browser. Let's go to Carousel test. And it's looking fine, and it's working fine. So if you remember from last time, this was not respecting the size of the slides. And the reason it wasn't doing that is because in my demo project, the container of the carousel was a div with a class of flex. So it was a flex div that was containing my my component. That was actually giving it the size that it needed. If that flex component was not there, even though I was saying that because I was saying the component should have a full width, then it was actually trying to take the full width of the parent element, which was just a div. The solution for that was to go back to my component and wrap everything in a div with a class of flex, which doesn't really make too much of a difference because there is just one element, which is the component in that div. But just giving it a class of flex, it overrides the default block presentation, and therefore it compresses everything and then respects the size of a full width for the container. Let me show you the actual change that I made. I have it in a tab here open. Is this? No, this is not the one. It's gotta be this one. So I have all of the pull requests that I've made. The last one was fix layout box. This is the one that fixed the size of the container. And as you can see, There's a bunch of changes here. This is just a README. Oh, by the way, I had to add Alpine.js as a requirement, because if you're installing this on a fresh Laravel project, you have to have Alpine.js installed and configured in your project, or otherwise it would not work. The component would just not work. So I added some changes to the documentation as well, simply stating that this line, this import line, has to be either at the beginning of the file or at least before Alpine.js is initialized, because that's a problem. If you try to initialize the carousel before Alpine, then Alpine doesn't know about the carousel init function or the get carousel data function, and therefore it's going to be a plethora of errors and nothing's going to work. So this has to go before Alpine.js. And then we have this button here. Oh, there was also a problem with the buttons. We will get to the size in a minute, but the buttons were also not properly aligning, and because I'm using absolute positioning on the component for the buttons, then they have to align themselves in the carousel container. Problem was, if I didn't specify an orientation by default, then none of the classes that will position the buttons were added to the button themselves. Therefore, the buttons were ending up in just a default absolute position, which I believe was in the lower left corner. So I added this orientation here just to give it a default value of horizontal. Therefore, if you don't specify an orientation, horizontal will be the default, and therefore the classes for the buttons will be properly assigned. And here's the change that I made to the root parent, the root element of the component, which used to be just a div with all of the elements, all of the Alpine.js stuff that I needed. All I did to fix the size of my component was just to add a div with a flex container, with a flex class, which essentially just compresses everything, and then the frame will have the right size, which will be according to the size of each slide, or the biggest slide. I also added this margin, which I'm thinking about changing later, because I believe I went too big on the margin, because of the buttons being absolutely positioned. If there is no margin on the right side of the component, then the button is going to end up outside the viewport and invisible. So I added a default margin around the carousel so that the leftmost button will always be visible. But I think 16 is a little too much, and you'll see what I mean when we get to the Infolist project. And that was it. That was the whole thing. Just fixing the button layout by adding the default classes, and then wrapping my component into a flex element. And that fixed pretty much all the layouts, all the layout problems. So that's in the carousel. Now let's talk about the Infolist entry, because that one was a little bit more. Basically, I had some, in my ignorance, when I was working on that component, I was working on a demo project that already had Tailwind CSS installed and configured. And that was a mistake, because in my ignorance, I was just mimicking the style in the colors of Filament, without thinking that Filament does not require you to install Tailwind CSS. And because Filament comes with its own build of Tailwind CSS, due to its support for themes and etc., then adding my own classes will cause problems because most of the classes were not recognized. Like there was like for moving the buttons around, there was a class that was not recognized. The colors were not obviously recognized, so the background of the buttons were just black because I was using Amber, I guess. I think. Yes, I was using Amber, and that class does not come by default in the Filament compiled CSS file, if that makes sense. So all of my styles were just not working. So what I did was I opted for the kind of a nuclear option, which is I took the Tailwind CSS styles from the demo project. Well, first of all, I toned down the buttons because in order for me not having to deal with styles or themes in Filament, so that when you change the style or the primary color from amber to blue, for example, which you can do within your panel configuration, I didn't want it to deal with changing the colors of the buttons, so I opted out for a simple approach of just toning down the buttons to grays and whites, which are neutral and should go well with any theme. That was the first thing, which again is not perfect, and I am going to do more research to see if I can make the components support themes in Filament. So if you change the theme of your entire panel, it should reflect also in the Infolist entry, color of the buttons, etc. But for the time being, what I did was tone down the buttons, no colors, just whites and grays. And then I went back to the demo project, and using Tailwind CSS CLI, I basically compiled all of the styles that I needed or that I was using for my carousel into a minified CSS file, which I then put in my Infolist project, my Infolist package, and then told Filament to grab that file, and I basically registered it as an asset. If you remember when we did that with the JavaScript component, with the JavaScript file, it just takes that file, that JavaScript file, and deploys it into the public folder of your project. And I know it's not a perfect option because even though the CSS file that I minified was really small, it still has pretty much all of the CSS, a bunch of CSS classes from Tailwind CSS that I don't really use or need. So it's not a perfect solution, but at least gives me the end result of the component working on a Filament project with panel builders. So let's go through the changes that I made on that package. The change is actually very simple. All I did was, well, before I do that, let's go back to the demo project real quick. I opted to use the demo project because all of the styles work in this place. So what I did in the terminal was to do npx this command here. Let me see if I can make it bigger. npx tailwind css-o, which creates an output file of your compiled CSS classes, and I threw that file inside packages Infolist Carousel resources dist carousel.css. That is the same location that I used for the JavaScript file. So Infolist Carousel resources dist carousel.css. So that's a minified file with all of the classes that Tailwind CSS usually compiles on the fly when you're working on your project. Usually when you're using Vid on a dev server, that compilation happens every time you change a file, or if you build it, that compilation happens on that moment, and Tailwind CSS goes into your files, analyzes all the classes, and creates a build for you to use. But in this case, I'm telling Tailwind CSS, give me an output file called Carousel CSS, minify it, and put it in that folder. I then went into my components service provider, and I use another class from Filament support, which is called CSS, and basically just registered that CSS file as an asset for my package. Then Filament, every time this component is installed or updated, and we're going to see that in a second, is going to take that minified file and then put it in the public folder of my project. And in fact, let's go open the Filament example project that I had here. I guess it was called Infolist Carousel inside Herd. And now that I have a new release, let's go ahead and just do PHP artisan, no, not again, composer update, sorry. So here we should have two upgrades in my packages, one for the blade component from 102 to 103, and one for my Infolist Carousel component from 101 to 102. Then in the discovery section here, there should be a new line for my CSS file. So it's throwing the JavaScript file inside public, my vendor name, Infolist Carousel, Infolist Components Carousel.js, and additionally, it's throwing the CSS file inside my vendor folder, Infolist Carousel, Infolist Carousel, Carousel CSS. That is the minified file that ensures that all of the classes that I used on my component that are not part of the default bundle that comes with Filament 3 are going to work with my package. So technically, let me build this too. PHP, run build. npm run build. Oh, right. I don't have to run this because again, Filament comes with its own build for CSS, and also I provided my own compiled CSS file, so everything should work. Let's actually go here and let's visit Infolist Carousel.test. And actually I have to go into the admin route. Okay, you remember I have a resource here with a simple model called Carousel with one entry that has a relationship to another model called slides. And so a carousel has many slides. Willie, is there a reason the JavaScript and the CSS are not in the same folder? No reason at all. Basically, I was just trying to follow the same structure that Filament uses for publishing their files. See how the default Filament CSS files go into their the vendor name, which is Filament, and then they used either forms, support, or Filament core. So in this case, this would be the kind of component that you're using. So I went with Infolist Carousel. I technically this part here is just my vendor name and package name, which doesn't need. Actually, it's part of the configuration. When you use the CSS register, you have to provide the package name. So it's using that package namespace, to say it in one way, which is the vendor name and package name, as a folder structure for the package. But I guess from here out, so this two, vendor name and package name, that's required. But from there on, I could have just leave it in the root if I wanted to. I was just trying to kind of follow the same structure that Filament uses, but for no other reason than that. And as you can see, there is my component working as it should. I'm using the default slide view, so I'm not providing anything. In this case, it's just giving me the value of the state that the value of the column that I'm using in the make function, which I will show you here. Carousel resource, Infolist function. I have a text entry for the carousel name, and then I'm using carousel make with the slides, which is the relationship name inside the carousel model. This gives me a collection of slides, and those slides have a column called file name, and that's what I'm displaying in the slide here by default. And from here on, you can configure the carousel as you would with all of the options that we have seen. But yeah, in the future, I want to make these buttons look like this. The problem is that I would have to make more research into how other plugins are doing this kind of styling. I don't know how just yet. Also, one quick tip that I found while I was working on this, there is kind of a hidden documentation about plugins that I kind of stumbled in by mistake. If you go to your vendor folder in any Filament installation, by the way, if you go to your Filament vendor folder, which is up here, let me make this bigger. So Filament, and then go to support docs. There is a whole section about registering assets. Let me make this look a little bit prettier. So an overview of how you can use the Filament asset function, how you can register assets for packages, registering CSS files. This is where I actually learned how to register a CSS file for my plugin, and a bunch of other things, icons, colors, which I think I should read, by the way. So basically how you can register colors. So this is like a whole section, like a whole documentation section that is, as far as I know, is not part of the official documentation in their website. And I think it's really important and really useful if you want to develop your own plugin. Like there is a getting started here, building a panel, building a standalone plugin. I think this one is mostly documented. Why are you not giving me the, oh, there you go. So yeah, you can take this and give them a read if you're trying to make a package for yourself. But I found it really interesting that none of this is, as far as I know, part of the official Filament documentation. Is the position configurable? The position of the component? You mean like not on the side but in one column? Yes, that's just the configuration. In fact, if I go back to the component here, I can just use, it is literally the documentation. Is it? I didn't, is it really? Because the CSS thing, I didn't find in documentation. So here I can just say, for example, the default layout for any Infolist is a 2-column layout, but I can just add full span, column full span to my component, which is just a regular method from Filament. And it should take the component back, basically making it a full span, spanning the both columns. And you can change the layout, you can add sections to your Infolist, etc. You can change things around. And this is what I meant by, I think there is way too much margin. Where is it? Are you kidding me? Come on. Here. There you go. See how there is way too much margin? I think I went too crazy on the margin on this component, which makes it look a little disaligned with everything else. I think I could even go, I use 4 rem. Could even go for like 2 rem. Yeah, even 2 looks fine. The button is kind of flat against the left side, but as long as it's not invisible, which happens if you don't use margin. See how it's just disappearing? I guess 2 would be fine. I'll make that change later. Your thing about documentation. Let me check, because maybe you're right. Go ahead and guide me. In fact, let me look for CSS. Yeah, I think you're right. Oh, yeah, it wasn't the core concepts. You're right. I didn't look hard enough. You're totally right. I guess I have a lot of reading. I usually don't get to this part very often too. Lazy loading CSS, using Tailwind CSS in plugins. I think this one I read. This is where I got the idea of using Tailwind CSS, a compiled version of it. But yeah, this is a good place to start reading. In any case, we have a working plugin now. I am going to make the pull request again because I closed it. I'm going to request another pull request, another pull request for my plugin into the plugin section of Filament's website. I don't know how long that is going to take, but in the meantime, if you want, grab my package, use it, kick it, punch it, try to break it as much as you can. And if you want to contribute to it, you're open. I'm open. It is always open to contributions if you feel like it. Just fork it and make your changes, add your things, and then request ask for a pull request, and you can contribute to the project as well if you want. Other than that, I think we are done with the package. I will post updates regularly if there isn't something noteworthy. But as far as streams goes, we are going to take a break from the Wednesday stream, except that next Wednesday I do want to have like a small, an hour-long discussion about Filament and policies. So stay tuned for that. We're going to talk about how policies are enforced and respected in Filament, and what do they change and how those changes look when you use policies in Filament version 3. I think that's an important thing to know. And yeah, I think that's it. Thank you so much for joining me on this ride, and yeah, thank you so much. It's been a hell of a ride, and I appreciate all of your support and contributions and comments. I have learned a lot, and I hope this is actually something that you can use and it's helpful in your projects. If it is, let me know in the comments, because I really want to know. I really want to hear if you're using my package or if you're using my Carousel component in one of your projects. Please let me know. I want to see it. And other than that, thank you, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.